It's 8 p.m. and it's Tuesday night. I got my laptop on and I feel alright. I got a few joints rolled and my munchies made. Got my headphones on and I close the door, don't disturb me. It's time to stand up tall and say some things about the shitty world we're living in with the boys at Raconteurs News. The Raconteurs, the Raconteurs, the Raconteurs News, Raconteurs News, Raconteurs News, Raconteurs News, Raconteurs News. Oh yeah.
This is Tony Moran, WBF Cruiserweight World Champion, speaking on Raconteur News.
Good evening and welcome to Raconteurs News. Although we're 5 minutes late this evening, we're one or two gremlins in the system, so my apologies for that. How are you doing? It is the 8th of August 2017, so it's 888 in essence, because it's 8, 8 and 2 and 7, 1 and 7 is 8 as well, so it's 888 again. For those of you into numerology, if you are, you're going to love the show tonight. Just first of all, I just wanted to get into a couple of things. We are now in the 6 weeks leading up to the anniversary of 9/11. So what you need to be looking out for in the news are 9/11 related things, stories about New York, stories about plane problems. I noticed a couple on Friday. There was a quote saying that people needed to get to the airport 3 hours before their flight. So even earlier, which are plane problems, which are 9/11 related, because they do refer to security and all that sort of thing. So there's another thing to stick 9/11 in your head. And also there was a terror plot in Australia, I think, that was busted on Friday as well. There was another story that I'd seen, and it did tie into that, but I just can't remember it. And I've tried to do searches on the news sites for what were going off on Friday. And of course, today we've had Nadine Muhammad, who's just been convicted of trying to get a pipe bomb onto a Ryanair flight at Manchester Airport as well. So just look out for these things. They're going to start popping up, and they're going to start become more frequent between now and 9/11. And that's when they're going to, in these weeks, they're going to start ramping up the terror plots, the terror stories. Look out for things about New York, things about plane problems, people causing problems on planes. It's usually this time of year you get somebody who's goes mad on a plane, and there's somebody's. Just look out for all these things and just remember them. Also, another thing I wanted you to look out for as well is there's been this bizarre story in this last couple of days. This girl that was kidnapped in Italy, who was on her way to a photo shoot. She was going to a photo shoot, only 20 years old. My daughter's 20. She's just bought a house. She wouldn't be going to a photo shoot on her own in Italy at 20 years old. But she's been kidnapped. Now, the reason that I want you to keep an eye on this one, I think this is going to turn into possibly another one of those soap opera style situations. It doesn't make sense to me. I think it's probably going to be used like the Madeleine McCann case, and also there was that case in Italy where the girls, was it what's her name, Amanda, that in Italy, Kircher. Amanda Knox, yes, that's the one. I think it's going to be turned into a big circus like that, one way or another, but that's one to keep an eye on. And also, I'd like to point out how many acid attacks we're starting to get. Now, for me, this is like an instruction manual for a psychopath. So what they're doing is that they're publicising these acid attacks. I listened to a discussion on 5 Live earlier today, and they were talking about how easy it is to get acid and what sort of things that you can use. It was like almost like an instruction manual for a psychopath. So just keep an eye on that as well. But let's get to tonight's show. We have got one of the subjects that I've been wanting to cover for such a long time, but many of the people in that community are really suspicious of people like me who want to ask them questions. So it's been quite difficult to get somebody, but I have managed to get somebody, and I'm really excited because he knows his subject inside out. He's very passionate about it, as amongst other things as well. And as somebody who is going to sit here, and I'm not a globe earther, I'm not a flat earther. All I want to do is want to ask questions, and I want really to get to perhaps as close to the bottom of it as we can. So I'd like to welcome onto Raconteurs News for the first time. It's a Flat Earth show, and we've got Martin Liedtke. Martin, how are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you, Jason. Awesome to be here. Meet you guys. Thanks, guys.
Excellent. Well, before we get into, I mean, this is quite a controversial subject. And you know what? People have such high degrees of passion on both sides. You know, there are people that are passionate about the flat Earth. I'm not going to call it a theory. I'm going to call it the flat Earth idea. I'm going to call it the idea because I'm sat in the middle, and you've got people that, because I don't know whether it's because they're so indoctrinated, but they're so married to the idea of the ball. They've seen it all their life. But anyway, before we get into that, I'd like you to go into your background. How did you get into this? What's your background? And just give us some idea who Martin Liedtke is.
Well, I've had a life less ordinary, if I'm honest with you guys. My father was an Estonian ship's captain, a merchant seaman. So me, myself, my sister, my mother, we grew up basically. Instead of going to school like normal children, I was on a ship and I was off. I went everywhere, and my sister and my mother. So I had an alternative sort of education. When I went to school, I couldn't stand it. I was constantly trutting because my teachers, I found inept. I was basically traveling the world, coming back to this indoctrination camp, where if I brought my own book with me, because I had a big library of my own, and ask my teacher, can you explain this to me? Like maybe a question on maybe atomic physics. Asking this question, and I would be sent out of the room constantly for my awkward questions. So I knew something was going on with the whole thing, academia, the lot. And I knew that the exams...
This is from an early age, when you're at school.
Early age. I've been into conspiracy since 1974. I still got the book there, Eric von Daniken's Gold of the Gods. It was released in 1974. Now, I read that book, and it blew my mind. Now, I've encountered things in my own experience, in my own life, which do not fit with the reality that they are proposing to us. Okay? Definitely not. There's a lot more going on than they propose. Now, so I grew up at sea, and then I joined the Merchant Navy myself. I've got a varied background. I worked in archaeology for years. So I got questions with the history laid down for us as well, you know, especially in the Neolithic era and the megalithic era, big problems. So I worked in archaeology. About at 18th birthday, I joined the Merchant Navy. I spent probably bouncing back and forth different ships about a decade. I've lived abroad. I've worked all over the world. So I've had an alternative life. What I was looking for was, you know, the old saying, I went searching for myself. Well, that's basically what I was doing. I was looking for myself. I found myself and I came home. So, you know, I had raised a family, and then I basically was working, building, retail, the whole shemode. I've worked all my life. But with the conspiracy theories, they've always been there in the background, but it's not just conspiracy to me. That word, it doesn't really sum up what's been going on. You know, I knew about the Hegelian dialectic at 17 years of age. I knew that the governments were not just governments. I knew they were puppets. I knew there were shadow governments working them. I knew that all of these things, even before 9/11, when false flags were happening, I was aware that they were happening and what was going on. I couldn't tell people around me. So I was locked in this bubble of knowing that I was in this really awkward world where I don't fit with everybody else. Everyone else to me is fast asleep. and I know all this stuff. So by the time the Flat Earth had arrived on my doorstep, which was about early 2015, I'd already sort of all Victorian theologies to me, as in gravity, both of them, Newtonian and Einsteinian, are to me bullshit. Also, look, any theory, dinosaurs to me are now a ridiculous notion. I laugh to myself inside. Your intuition tells you what's what. Victorian era, the 1800s, is the time of hoax. Evolution, why the hell are we sticking with evolution? Some crazy ass Freemason from the mid 1800s. When, hang on, look, give me one example of a species on Earth right now that goes from one species to another species, aka like a duck to a goat. Have you got any examples? Because the doctors haven't either. You asked a paleontologist or somebody, can you give me an example? And they will say, oh, a stickleback fish. Oh, it got landlocked in a loch in Scotland following the last ice age, and basically it changed. What did it change into? A stickleback fish. So it was a stickleback fish before and after. No. Have you got one species that turns into an actual other species? No, they haven't got any. Yeah, they'll teach this in school. As soon as they grab you off your parents and put you in school when you're really early and your brain is developing, they bung in dinosaurs straight with the globe programming and coupled with evolution. All of it together. Space, the whole thing. And you haven't got anything else to think about. There's no other, they don't give you another option to think about.
Of course not. And we know that. We know that the education system is indoctrination. It's conditioning, it's training rather than education. And it has been for a long time. I just wanted to, what first drew you into the flat Earth? What was the first thing that you actually sat and thought, oh, actually,
curve.
The curvature.
Right, because when I was at sea in the Merchant Navy for years, I spent a lot of time, basically whale watching up the mast with the big binoculars on the deck. We had these huge things that were on a clamp. They were so heavy you couldn't lift them. So you had a real big line of perspective. Now, I kept seeing things way out. Like, I'd go into the bridge and say, Captain, how are we still seeing that volcano 3 days out? It really, really bugged me. You know, we must have done about 100 nautical miles by now. You know, shouldn't that have disappeared? You know, considering it's like 3 to 6 miles to the horizon line. You know, what's he still doing there? And I would go and check in the chat room and take the position. And it would be there. And it would sometimes be 60, 70, 80 nautical miles away. I would check with them. They would just smirk at one another, not comment. So now I think to myself, well, because they were all Freemasons on these ships, which they were confessed that they knew. They used plane trigonometry over spherical because it's better for reckoning. To me, that just spells it out. But so when I was basically at the time, I'll tell you how this happened with the flat Earth. I was listening to Coast to Coast AM. You know, this radio station with George Norrie in America. Well, I've been listening to that probably for the last 10 years. OK, I mean, I never missed an episode. Can't listen to it anymore. I can't stand John B. Mills. Not that he's there anymore. But I listened to it 2.5, 3 hours a day. So I was looking for an episode, a Whitley Strieber episode connected with free energy. So I'm looking on the side, on the bar, and I see a video for Flat Earth. Now, most people look at a Flat Earth and think, oh, my God, how ridiculous. That's just done. But I thought, well, hang on a minute. That sounds really interesting. So I basically looked at the subject constantly, day and night, to try and debunk it. Because I thought, this is, you know, I'm a science buff, guys, you know, bless you. I'm a science buff. I love space and all things space at that time. I got a collection of NASA images and things. You know, this is sad to admit now. So after 6 weeks, 2 months maybe of really grinding the subject day and night, not sleeping at all, I woke up and I was just, well, it just can't be anything else. It just really can't be. It's flat. And that was my epiphany moment. And then I started to post on YouTube. I made a channel. That was another epiphany moment, Flat Earth British. I started to post. I connected with other flat earthers. And now, 2 years on, we're at where we are now. There's been a whole lot of things happen in our journey as a whole, all the flat earthers together. It's been a quite unbelievable. It's not like any other community online. I am aware of all the other communities, you know, the 9/11 group and and the UFO groups and all of this, but it's not the same. It's something different, completely different, because of the deeper implications. You see, it's a very deep psychological shift. Some people can't cope at all. If they let go of this globe, what we call globe mentality, which is akin to, there's all sorts of evil connotations included with this, the way they work their system, their weird globe religion, if you like. Now, when you move away from that, you go into a more lateral thinking space. Basically, you're not worried anymore. You're not worried about sitting there worried about being nuked by a thermonuclear bomb or a plague or a meteor coming smashing, killing the planet, or a gamma ray burst, or a whole number of scaremongering tactics that they like to give you to worry you, keep you on a lower body vibration, so you get ill, so that you need medicines, and then you back up big pharma. Actually, it's not the only reason. There's a whole number of reasons why they want to keep you on a lower body vibration, which is why they scaremonger you to death with bullshit. None of it has any validity. All they're doing, these people, these governments, pretending that they're governments, is the world is a stage. Behind the curtain, they're all together. They're all best friends, Putin and Trumpsky, or the Queen and Robert Mugabe, sitting at the table sipping coffee together. It happens. I've got photographs of it. So the world is a stage, and they portray this, and everyone. Now, this is what Nixon said: if it's not on a telly, they won't believe it, and that's the God's honest truth. So everything is on the telly.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I just want, because I mean, it's like I've just wound up somebody with a elastic band, let them go, and you're going, and you've gone through so much information so far. We're only 20 minutes in. What I want to ask you is what, well, we've got plenty of time. We've got till 10 o'clock. What is your preferred model then? You've gone completely. No. I don't do that. I'm sorry, because we don't know what's out there, so everything will just be basically just whimsical hearsay, or just chucking it out there. And I'm afraid I'm not willing to do that. We've been arguing amongst ourselves as flat earthers, and we are still today, over models, over our Gleason's map, which some people think is a Freemasonic host, handed to us by the elites to basically mislead us from the real shape. So it causes problems, models, in the group. You know, there's other models. There's the Pac-Man model, or the square map model, or the ping pong model, or the azimuthal equidistant model, or the dome model, or the infinite plane model. There's a whole number of models to choose from on the flat plane, you know. But the emphasis to me, you know, personally, if you're to ask me, is I realize it as a spiritual plane of existence, and I'm a spirit having a human experience, not a human having a spiritual experience. So to me, because I believe it's all a subjective experience, I believe that it's just a realm, a flat realm, and no spinning ball, because there's no evidence for the spinning ball, I'm afraid. And the heliocentric model, when you really, really dig into it, is insanity. Light years, they're 186,000 miles a second, is insanity. They just made it up. They made them all so far away, so we can never, ever reach them. They're 180 million years in the past, guys. It's taken that long for the light to reach you in an infinite universe. But unfortunately, if it was an infinite universe and they were stars and suns and galaxies, that means that every single center point would have a star in it, which means when you look up in a night sky, it would be blazing white with all the stars in this infinite supposed universe. They have no proof that we're even in the Milky Way. Look, I can't break down the heliocentric model here and now, but it's when you realize it, it takes some real dealing with. It's insanity. It's much easier to know the facts, which is we're not spinning. We've tested it in the past. You know, there's the Michelson-Morley experiment with the interferometer, where they try to pick up, in the ether, a change, the Earth's spin. And it proved null. Or Aries failure proved null. That null means no spin, okay?
And they invent this thing called the Coriolis effect. Now, if the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, in reality, what should happen is if you went up in an air balloon, hovered above your house for, say, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours, New York should arrive below you if it's going in an easterly direction at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. But no, that won't happen because they've invented this sticky, viscous glue called the Coriolis effect. And it's a sticky, viscous glue that sticks onto the ball and it moves with us. But, the sticky, viscous glue is in the atmosphere, and the atmosphere is separated by a vacuum. And there's no barrier between them, guys. So what that's leading you to believe is there's an air pressure system with a vacuum that sucks by nature. You've done the experiment in school when they suck the air out of a petrol can and it goes. So vacuums suck by nature. So it doesn't suck off our atmosphere with its sucking nature. And there's no barrier between us. But there it is, this apparent vacuum. No evidence for, and this atmosphere with this viscous sticky Velcro called the Coriolis that drags around this spinning ball at 32 times the speed of a bullet or some insane speed you couldn't even imagine. They're telling you all at different directions, all at the same time. But we're not aware of all this because we're far too small and it's relative on this giant ball.
Well, what if someone were to say... there's no that the Earth produces oxygen at a greater rate than the space can the vacuum can suck it out. What would you say to that? Which is why we get an atmosphere around again. I'm just trying to put questions that somebody might be able to put to you, might want to put to you. But the what if we're producing more oxygen than is being sucked out into space with the plant life and this? No.
Yeah, see that to me, what you just said was all alien because that is all based on living on a ball. To my mind, there's no Antarctica as such because that doesn't exist as such. To my mind, it's an ice wall keeping all the water in.
Yeah,
and it could go on forever, which means there's a lot of atmosphere out there. And to me, they're hiding more land. And to me, that means that they're not haven't it ever bugged you, Jason, why they just keep on polluting and polluting without any care, knowing that we're not being able to go anywhere, knowing that it probably is killing us and killing their planet. All they did was plane, but they just added a T, planet, their planet. So don't it bug you that they just don't care and they're literally ending the planet and saying, well, don't worry, because in another generation we'll scoot off and we'll all go and live on Mars. We'll go and have a little probe. Now it only takes 13 trillion. But for that doesn't happen. You know, they couple it with geoengineering, right, and the infinite or the plane that's out there until the other lands or whatever is out there, because I believe that there is more. There's enough evidence that it is. The air is just going to be completely clean out there everywhere. There's not going to be no worry for pollution. And the elites, are the very, very tip of that pyramid. They know this fact, and they know the secrets of how reality works. They practice the alchemical arts and the esoteric arts, and they use them against humanity. And it's a bombardment on our senses. We don't know whether we're coming or going. They use food, they use water, they use geoengineering, they use harmonic resonance, they use television, they use subliminals, they use sigils, they use black magic, they use a whole number of things to keep everyone, the whole population, fast asleep. So you don't realize the truth. You're on a flat plane made by a creator. But that means God. That's the big, deep implication. They want you to believe you're nothing. This little blue dot, that evil satanic guy, right, Carl Sagan, right, that Freemason, Carl Sagan, he wrote a book called The Pale Blue Dot. Oh, I read it about 4 times. I thought it was the bee's knees at one stage, where they will show you a little blue dot taken by the Cassini going past apparently Saturn. And he looked back and it took a dot, this little blue dot, us, Oh, no, that one was from Voyager. Us, they say. So they want you to think that you're meaningless, and they'll expand upon that meaninglessness because they'll give you the deep space image a few years back, and they'll say, oh, look, we focused on a little, well, forget about the spin of the Earth and all that. That doesn't even include when you're focusing in on an opening, an aperture for 4 or 5 days at a time to capture the deep space image, but we won't go there because it gets a bit contrived. But they capture this image just to show you that them lights up there, they're actually galaxies with another trillion stars and worlds. And then they chuck something like the Drake's equation to say, the chances there could be life out there. It's all a mind game. It's all a construct, and none of it is real. All you got is that experience that you see in front of you. Do you see any ball in front of you? Does anybody ever? Do you go to the beach? Do you ever see this curve? Because it's not just curving that way, It's a ball. It curves that way as well. Everyone keeps forgetting. You won't observe it. They keep saying, oh, we'll see it from an airplane window. You won't see it from an airplane window. Google it. Even NASA admits you can't. You can't even see it from a V-2 bomber at 72,000 feet. It's not there. It's flat. And that's the end of it. Water always retains its level. How can water basically stick to a shape? Have you ever tried to stick water on a spinning tennis ball?
That's one of the things that bugged me is that when you're talking about a ball and we're spinning at I don't know, is it 1,100 miles an hour? Is it that?
1,000 miles an hour at the equator, 67,000 miles around the sun, and 250,000 miles around the galactic core, and an infinitesimal speed into the infinite, whatever. They don't even know.
The one question I always had, the one thing that always bugged me, and the reason why I've been so fascinated with this subject recently, and I have watched a lot of this flat Earth stuff. Now, I'm open-minded. I will watch it. I'll watch stuff, and I'll make my own mind up about it. But what did bug me is if you get a wet tennis ball and spin it around, all the water flies off it. So why have we got water stuck? And what is this? What does this thing called gravity is? What is it?
No such thing. Well, what proof have you got for gravity then? Look, which gravity? Einsteinian, Newtonian, they're both bullshit. They're both bullshit. It was a theory in the beginning. There's no such thing as a graviton. They're never going to catch one. And when they did chuck it out there a year ago, to my mind, just to basically keep the flat earthers happy, day after, Lawrence Krauss, he tweets, oh, actually, it wasn't a graviton. It was a ghost of something that may have been interpreted as a graviton. It's just nuts. It's as nuts as a Higgs boson. Well, when you dig into this, you're just going to know that they lie about all. It's a scam. They're just making money. 85 million a day NASA are taking for cartoons. They take the piss so bad, they stick Pluto's face on Pluto, a planet that they took a decade debunking and making into a dwarf planet. People were going on NASA with banners. Don't take Pluto away. Don't take Pluto away. Then they spend all this money to send a probe to the distant, almost out of our heliosphere, almost out into deep space, to the most distant thing, almost in the Kuiper Belt, Pluto. They get pristine images, even mountains on it. Oh, as clear as the Rosetta mission. Oh, don't even go what happened to that one. That was just insanity as well. So, and they stick an image of literally Pluto, the cartoon character on the front, just to rub it in your face. How stupid all the public is and won't wake up. Because they like to do a duper's delight, you see, guys. They like to laugh behind our backs in their little men's clubs and where they're chinking their glasses and congratulating one another on the next scam they'll put on the television tomorrow that they'll tell you all is true, and everyone will just run with it so they can play brother against brother, man against man, and subject half the world's population to starvation. And that's what's going on. That's all about to come to an end, actually. That is. And people are waking up, not just to the flat earth, Jason, not just to the flat earth. People are waking up to what the governments and whoever, the shadow governments, are doing to humanity. And they are playing man against man. It's funny you should say about these false flags earlier, Jason, because I've been posting about them on my YouTube channel, and I got a copyright for posting about a video about a guy apparently throwing a shoe at a mosque in Finsbury Park in London. I put it as proposed it that was a government dialectic to play man against man so we can all hate the Muslims. Poor old Muslims, like after 9/11. I tell you what, they're lovely people. They just love their kids and they're just lovely, normal people, the same as everyone else.
I think we could agree. I think we could agree on that, Martin. Absolutely. We can completely. Did I say absolutely again?
Yeah.
I've got to say, stop saying absolutely.
Basically over and over, so don't worry.
But I wanted to just get back and say, you did say that people are stupid and won't open their eyes and wake up.
No, not stupid. No, it's not what I said. No, it's not their fault. It's social conditioning. Look, everyone they had a whole artillery, a bombardment on their senses, Jason. It's not their fault.
The victims. That's just the point I want to make, that people can't see. They can't see because they're victims, not because of any other reason, that they won't wake up and they don't want to wake up. And
I love them all. I'd like to help them all.
9/11 or whatever, if people won't even conduct their own research, never mind go out on a limb and try and do things. So just do a. Just if you're just joining us, you're listening to Raconteurs News. It is this Tuesday evening, and I've got Martin Niska with me. He's a flat earther, and he's got plenty to say. It's been great. Perhaps, Giza, you told me that you were having some trouble with YouTube when we had a chat the other day. What sort of problems have you encountered with YouTube, and do you think these flat earthers are related?
You wouldn't believe the trouble I have had over 2 years. Apart from the tree, because of the nature of the subject. Look, if I say to you, there's Bigfoot, yeah, all right, no problem. What about like UFOs, aliens? Yeah, no problem. Alien abductees, crop circles, yeah, no problem. What about the Earth is flat? Do you want me to punch your face in? There's a psychological reaction. This psychological barrier comes up, and the instant reaction is violence. So I've had death threats. I've had attempted blackmail by mafia types. I've had teams of highly trained and organised, which I suppose is from a NASA think tank, trolls to come in. Then there's the other type of trolls which come in with the personal ad homs constantly. Or there's so they constantly sort of hack away with an ice pick. And while that's going on, you're suppressed by YouTube. They keep your likes down. I've got a file called my 666 file. And it's a file with about 20 or more videos that have been saved and passed to me by my subscribers, where they have my views on one video, because I only get about 1,000, 2,000 views a day, right? And it's stuck on 666. And they'll click it and it won't go up. And then they'll refresh and it won't go up and it'll be stuck. And they'll record it and send it to me. And it's happened over and over again. So it's either some algorithm or some silly gets playing games with us in Google. Now, likes sort of suppressed, sharing. So it doesn't get out there into not the mainstream, but more into the sort of truther arena. The bigger ones, like, you won't see it besides a Joe Rogan, for example, unless he's dishing us, So... with myself personally, like the copyright was, now I'm banned from doing live events for 6 weeks. Or if I try to do a live event, I'll have a big guest on YouTube or something, like whoever, somebody big in the truther community I'll interview, and it'll crap out. Yeah, I would have been live for days before, never would have had a glitch. It seems like, I can be paranoid or I'm interfered with because of the nature of what we're talking about. And it's not just the truth about the bullshit of the heliocentric model and the Earth is flat. It's the whole shamoli. It's the truth of who we are that they're suppressing, guys. I want to dig into the human potential and share and show the people who they really are. And if we can unlock and basically sort your water out and uncalcify your pineal gland, get back to who we truly are, who we used to be, I tell you what, the law of attraction is true. All you need to do is set your intent, never doubt, and it comes into fruition. The reality you're living in is malleable, and the powers, the elites, they know it, and they use it against you. You need to wake up to this fact and use it against them. You need to use the same techniques. Positive intention for what you need, not for greed, for one another. Because what's supposed to be happening here on this whatever it is, a petri dish or some sort of testing ground, it seems to be. We need to get it right. We need to realize our creator. We need to find out what God wants, and quick, because humanity's at this crossroads here. And if anyone can't see it and everyone can't feel that there's something big coming, because you can feel in your soul, everyone can, they must be like way brainwashed and asleep, because there's something coming. They even, with their predictive programming, will lead you to know that it is. They won't even hide it. So what are they up to? Is it the George Grindstones that they want to wipe us out down to 500 million? Well, I don't think so, really, guys, because I don't believe they'd wipe out their slave force. So it's something else, isn't it? So it's just the control, the subjection, even more into some really nasty, despotic, evil, totalitarian society, which is the way it's going for all of us. It'll be an androgynous society of people with no more family units, no more love, no more anything. Well, I don't think so. If anybody wants to live like that in this automated society, God help grandchildren and their children ahead. This is the point now where we're going to have to sort it out as a human race for our survival. Because if we don't, this evil 1%, they'll eat us alive. And they got all their arsenals on their side. They got all the armies, they got all the power, all the drugs, all the medicines, all the money, all the food, all the water. They got every single aspect covered, even your heating. You can't even go to the woods anymore and get a log for your coal fire. They took your coal fire out and they put a gas fire in, so you got to pay your money. You can never have free fuel unless you live out in the sticks and you got a house of your own. And how many got that? So they got every angle covered in this trouble. Not many. So to me, the flat Earth reality to me is a reality, and it's a spiritual awakening for many. It gets confusing. I've had people come to me, Jason, cracked up. I've had people like one guy in particular, a sub. He phoned me from a mountaintop, sat on his suitcase, and he said, I've done it, Matt. I've just walked away from my wife and my kids. And what do I do now? I was like, Michael, you turn around, you go back home. What the hell are you thinking? But she's giving me help because of my belief. You're going to have to just discuss it with her and work it out. It breaks up people's relationships. More than that, people walk out of high-paid jobs. I know a flat earther who was a millionaire business owner. As soon as he realised the flat earth, money didn't mean anything to him anymore. He just wanted to live normal as a human being, and he skipped the law. He's got rid of the law. In fact, he hasn't got much at all now.
From the way that you've been talking, perhaps you'll not be as hostile to this idea as I thought, but I thought you might be when I first thought of the question. But when we're talking about anything, when we're talking about spiritual things, we'll talk about going onto an astral plane. Yes. Okay,
that's where we reside.
Right. Okay. So the flat Earth idea of being a plane is it? Perhaps it's like you said earlier on, your consciousness having a human experience rather than a human having a conscious experience. So what do you think about this? What do you think about the idea? And I've heard this, and I can't actually remember who it was. Perhaps Andy, because I know we're on one of our shows. But perhaps, what do you think of the idea that this plane that we're on at the moment is like a training or a testing plane? Yes. So you find out what you have to come back every time you fail. You have to come back, and there are forces there that try to make you fail. Yes. But if you pass, then you move on to the next part. So this is like a training plane. What do you think to that idea?
100% bang on. What you said is bang on. The astral plane, or the higher realm, is where we truly reside. Our higher selves is our true selves. This is a reflection. It happens there first. This is indeed a training ground. It's a bit of a Groundhog Day. And if you don't get it right, I'm afraid you're subject to karmic cause and effect, and you will come back over and over and over and over again until you learn about self-realization and what we're here for, to help and share our brother man. and not live in selfish gain and petty desires and superficial bullshit. That's not what we're here for at all. But that's not our fault, guys. They gave it to us with this, this obey and these corporate desires and all of these shops with all of these things that glisten and all these flashy lights that tempt you in. It's not our fault. It's tempting. But it's they'll say it's the devil's temptation. I don't believe that guy would. I think that's more psyop. All of that as well. I do. Yeah. This medieval, a guy that's going to prod you with a fork. You don't do as you're told. This is just nuts. This is medieval nuttery from evil people again. What we need to do is we need to be critical thinking. We need to think for ourselves. We need to discern for ourselves. We need to find out what's real. Because I'm not just being like petty here. I'm not being sort of awkward. I'm not. What I'm picking apart, I've like really, really sort of picked apart, guys. There's 1,000 books on the wall there. I really got to know an answer, and the flat Earth is the answer. But it's deeper, guys. It's much deeper than that. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I know all conspiracies begin and they end with a flat Earth because it's no bigger, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. Because it's about our human potential. They don't want us to find out who we are. The power is truly with the people. It always has been. And they don't want us to know that. They tell us you're only using 10% of your mind and the other 90% is dormant. What's the point of having a brain then if it's only 10% being used? Now, is that true? Or is that just as basically, is that linguistic programming or predictive programming? So you believe it is. Same as the cigarette packets we got in the country now in Britain, where they'll show you like a woman with a nose bleeding because she got TB or something caused something to do with cigarettes. Now, if you post that on Facebook, somebody's going to say there's something wrong with you. But cigarette companies can do it, no problem. And it's predictive programming. This shit will happen to you later on down the line if you believe this. They'll do it with everything they possibly can. They will predictively program you into illness and death if you don't know and if you don't understand. So that's where I come in. I try to explain this to people, Jason. I try to put it clear. The health is a biggie as well. What they're doing with our health.
We've got the temptation, haven't we? All the temptation is there. Like you said, the flashing lights. You can have this, you can have that. Like when you get an advert on TV, it's not selling you the product, it's selling you the lifestyle. I think Neil Sanders said that. Yeah. And it's all, like you say, it's all about control. Now, the question I wanted to ask you is, another form of control is religion. Mm-hmm. Right? I believe is a form of control.
Same here.
But the relationship between a lot of the flat earthers and religion seems to be interjected into. There's a lot of that, which I think I don't. Do you think that's it? Do you think that's there to put people off?
No. The flat Earth has brought more people back to God than any other movement on Earth. It really has. Now we have got a big Christian contingency. But there is an overwhelming flavour that we know that religion, like basically, I don't want to slag off religion in any sense, but the Holy Bible, who wrote it and who gave it to us in the first place. But I do believe that people, the holy books of John or Thomas or Ezekiel or other books, some of the books have been kept out of the Holy Bible. I do believe that the mystics are real and have visions. I know this is a fact. And I know the mystics are out there in the population. And I know the Vatican, they sniff them out. They send people looking for the mystics. And they've always been here. And when they got them, right, they use them for their own evil purposes. And this is a fact. But the mystics, some of them, they stay clandestine, underground. And they use their visions for purposes of forwarding humanity, for the betterment of humanity. Now, this has always happened. They're aware of it. And there's another side, a counter side, that is aware of it too. To me, the Vatican is the devil. To me, they represent evil. All roads lead to Rome, guys. All roads lead to Rome. And
yeah, we know that.
There's nothing that's not tainted by them. All the wars, I don't want to go on about what they do, the Pope Pius, but the Jesuits, the way they infiltrate. And our Pope now is a Black Pope, is a full-on Jesuit. And if you've heard the Jesuit oath, they're quite happy to chuck their child against the wall. And if they knew what we did behind closed doors, they would kill us. Well, yeah. Because what they are doing behind closed doors is they are bringing in a new world order where they will control and we'd be their bitches forever, and our children, our children's children, and we will never be able to get out of it because the doors are already down. There's 24% of that ball you're living on you're not allowed to go to. Once you go past the 60th latitude line south to Antarctica, there's weird-ass restrictions coming in. You're not even allowed to light a cigarette and blow it out into the air or take a piss. Go do that in a bottle or anything else. So why the weird-ass restrictions? And why have no one taken sovereignty or claim? And why can't you walk off where you want? And why have you got to have an escort by one of them? And why have you got to book 6 months in advance? And why does it cost 100,000? And why can you never go inland? Why can you only go on the peninsula or McMurdo or Scott? Because it's not there. Nobody has ever double transversed, the southern side of Antarctica. The western side, that's apparently below sea level. But the other side of the mountain range, it's apparently this bigger than Australia or bigger than America. Nobody has ever been across it because it is not there. Now, the North Pole.
So nobody's ever been across Antarctica. Nobody's ever been
listen to this. No. Last year, funnily enough, again, we think it's a response to the flat earthers. The royal family sent a representative across to double transverse the first time ever Antarctica. He dies 30 miles from the end. I shit you not.
You're talking about Harry Hewitt?
Yeah. Last year or the year before now, isn't it? It's just crazy shit. It's crazy, mate. Nobody's done it. There was a woman, a flat earther, back in the late 1800s. Apparently, she packed up her little pack and some huskies and traipsed off to try and find the edge of the dome. And apparently died and perished. But years later, somebody found this cat and they found a note in it. And the note said that she had found the edge. But people think it's too, sort of elaborate and probably just bullshit. And sorry, I can't trust anything, can you? So something is definitely anomalous.
No, but it's very interesting, though, isn't it? It's very the thing about it is it's very interesting. Whether you think it's bullshit, whether that.
Well, my specialty in the flat earthers, my one thing that I'm noted for is maps. I'm Mappy Martin, they call me. I focus on maps, and that's my thing. And there's too many questions with the maps in Antarctica. We have maps showing other lands beyond this ice ring and this part, the taps of water that's going through. And all 1,500 maps will show you this land area in the north called the Hyperborean. Now, this restriction, this crazy-ass treaties, exists in the north as well. It's called the dew line, right? And you can't go past it. And if you do, there's restrictions. And you've got to have an escort. You can't go there yourself. So why is 24% of the Earth's surface out of bounds? Well, the official narrative is for scientific purposes and to keep it pristine. Well, that doesn't sound like them. Been to Alberta in Canada? They'll rip it to shreds for the coin. They're not worried. It's full of gold, plutonium. It's full of silver. It's full of ore. But they don't touch it. It's rubbish. I got a friend, a flat earther, who lived there in Antarctica as a plumber. He went there for 9 months, no longer, to stay in Antarctica. So I got like sort of an inside view of what it was like down there. And it is so dodgy. Everything is closed down. You can't go where you want. Everything is sinister. North Pole, exactly the same. They got this big, huge station up there with thousands of scientists. What are they doing? Well, they're looking for ice cores, for bubbles, for CO2 emissions to, sniff the past, see what the air was like. Does that make sense? All that money, all them scientists on the North Pole. And they're really shady. You should have seen when, do you know Michael Palin of the Pole? Did you ever watch that program, Jason?
Yep.
Yeah, man. Well, when he goes to that North Pole station, they don't want him in there. All the BBC crew. And they basically, he's like, I don't know what's the matter with him. This is even on the BBC program. And they basically, get him out of there. Really didn't want him in the restaurant. All staring at him funny. And these guys are supposed to be scientists. Whatever is going on up there? And all of the world leaders and Patriarch Kirill, the highest religious leader in Russia, going to Antarctica. And Buzz Aldrin and Senator Kelly and other really notable figures all going to Antarctica to look at something, apparently. Now, doesn't that make you think?
Well, it's just don't we see I mean, all I saw was some people, Buzz Aldrin, all these in some snow, That's
Yeah,
all
well,
I
birds,
saw.
sorry,
There's nothing to say that it were in Antarctica, it were anywhere really, apart from somewhere where it was snowing and there were no geographical features.
This will blow your mind. Go on Google and look at all Antarctica images. Yeah, go on here, right? Now, when you go on there, right, imagine they tell you there's a thing called the Roaring Forties, which is the most savage seaway in the world, right? The Roaring Forties, right? Go past the 60th and you hit it and it swells, the biggest swells on Earth, right? But you look at every single Antarctica image and there's no tide and no swell. And I spent years at sea. There should be a swell. Even if the ice, this is an ice barrier and it breaks up the swell, the ice still swells. I was on an ice-class ship working in the Arctic, the North Arctic, breaking ice, and the ice swells too. Okay, it does. And every single image of Antarctica on Google will show you it's flat calm. So that could be anywhere. That could be an island up in northern Canada. They get the light right. Who's going to know?
Yeah. There's no geographical features whatsoever.
Well, yeah, Mount Erebus, stuff like that. There's stuff you can recognise when you're in McMurdo or Scott, but you get away from these places where and it could be just anywhere. What's his name? Patriarch Krill was on a pebbly beach, very little snow, looking at a penguin, and that was the image on the mainstream media. So what does that tell you? It tells you that nothing. It could be anywhere. The way I think they go is Deception Island or the Antarctica Peninsula. Look, do you know Britain? Why do you think we had the Falklands War? All our money, all our investment to keep sovereignty of them islands. And what is significant about them islands is the approaches to Antarctica. It's the only way in. And we got all an island, all in a chain. South Sandwich Island, South Georgia Island. We've got Deception Island. We've got the Falkland Islands. We've got Elephant Island. A whole chain right the way over to Africa, blocking our approaches. We were willing to have a war for it. Now that, even if you just look at the Argentinian war in itself, you've got questions. Why the hell would that even happen? But then you think about Antarctica and it's like needed for the approaches to, so we can police it. Then it makes perfect sense. So.
Well, I've got a question, and this is weird because someone's just sent me this question, and there's also somebody else asked me a question to ask you because I told him that you were going to be on tonight, and I know he's going to be listening, but so it links in with his question as well. All right, okay. So this question is, what about tides? Aren't they linked to the Earth spinning?
No.
And something to do with the moon.
No,
okay, that's the first one. Okay. And also linked to that, this other guy asked me this question last week. I know he's going to be listening tonight, but he said, "Why are there tides on the sea in the ocean, but there aren't tides in some of the Great Lakes that are?" Some are bigger than seas.
Yeah, I know. Look at the Caspian. Yeah, no tide. Yeah, yes. I know.
So, go on. We'll set you off on that one.
Well, the official narrative is obviously it's the moon's gravitational force pulling a big bulge out of the size of this ball, right? A big bulge. And this bulge will have a ripple effect causing the tide around. But this apparent gravity of this apparent moon, now bear in mind, that this moon is a third of the size of the ball, Earth, okay? That means the Earth is 4 times bigger. So there's a huge gravitational force, if it's real, pulling on this ball, isn't there? So why doesn't the moon slam into it, losing its event horizon because of its weak-ass gravity compared to this one? But we'll forget that. So it stays here, right, with this gravity, and it pulls this big bulge. That is the official narrative. So it's not that because we're on a flat plane. And obviously, because I believe the heliocentric model, we do not go around the sun and the moon is not stick. They're on their own course. The sun can clearly, I can watch it. It goes in an arc, across my sky, comes up in the east, it goes round. It sets in the west. It don't go away for long. It comes around again and it's up here in the east 4 hours later. It don't go away for long. Now, it goes around us and they're both set in motion. Now, The only thing we've been working out between us as flat earthers is the science of how it could work, right? But we need obviously empirical evidence. We know how the scientific method works, practice and repeatable experiments. But so what we believe is the sun and the moon are working on an electromagnetic sort of, like if you imagine inside of a resistor or a capacitor, that would be better. And the moon is like the graphite bit, because it's grey in colour, and the sun would be the positive bit, and the atmosphere, or as we flat earthers know, is the ether, would be the sort of conductor. Now that would have a downward sort of pressure, if you like, and that would cause a movement or a tide. But that's one theory, but that doesn't affect the lakes. Now, all tides seem to emanate from a northerly direction, meaning they seem to come up through the Arctic above Canada, and then they seem to come down in a jet circle. When you look at it on an azimuth or flat earth map, it makes much more sense, by the way. And it comes in a circular motion through the Bering Straits and the Fox Islands into the Pacific, and it comes on a cycle. Now, this force, which is possibly helped, this is just my theory, by large bodies of ice, the size of countries, push in forward motion of water through the Bering Straits into the Pacific, which would cause a ripple or a Bellian effect or a tide. That would not affect lakes. That's just another theory. That's my one in particular. There's other theories out there, but the truth is we can't possibly know. The truth is that the sun is not far away. It's very close, actually. They say they just changed it this week, actually, guys, to fit the eclipse. I know they've actually changed it now, NASA. It's not as big as they thought it was. It's actually probably a bit bigger to fit our model of this 400. There's an impossibility and a mathematical impossibility. So corpuscular rays, we've all seen them. They emanate down in a sort of angle pattern. Well, if you use triangulation and you form these back, it comes to a center point right there.
Martin, right, I just want to stop you there. We're right at the hour mark, and we need to take a comfort break. We're going to give you a chance to get a comfort break before we get into the sun, because that's a whole other subject. Well, it's not a whole other subject, but it's a whole other... It's another 20 minutes of talking, isn't it? It's another 20 minutes of explaining. So we're going to have a comfort break. We're going to take a music track, and we'll be back. And after this from Heath, my mate Heath Dweth, and fittingly for today, it's called Rain. We'll see you in a minute.
I see clearly now as the rain falls down from mournful clouds that cry so black and grey. You're affecting me ecologically as you chase so long the butterflies away. See the people frown as the rain comes down on lit cigarettes. The raindrops play their games, but I feel unchained every time that it rains. I could never be a prisoner to the sky. But the harder it falls, we get trapped in walls, still by memories of our failures, and it's pouring over me. dreams. I don't know what fate has in mind for me no more. Rain will fall, I go blind, think I'm losing my mind. The rain kicks you and you're down until you drown. But the harder it falls, we get trapped in walls, stuck by memories of our failures, and it's pouring over me. I keep falling, falling over me. I can see there's a rainbow shining, showing me the way. I go blind, time has left me so far behind. Now I wonder if I'll ever see the blue sky shining. My heart's crying. As the rain falls down, clouds that crash like the rain. You're affecting me ecologically as you chase along the butterflies away. See the people frown as the rain comes down on lit cigarettes. The raindrops play their games.
Hi, I'm Andrew K. Fletcher, originator of Incline Bed Therapy, talking to you on Raconteur News.
And welcome back to Raconteurs News. This evening, it's Tuesday night as usual, and that was Rain by Heath Dweft, and it is suitably pissing it down here like it has been all day and all night. I've just been to the toilet and the window was open. And it didn't take me long to go, I'll tell you. So because of the torrent outside. Anyway, it is Tuesday night. We've got Raconteurs 2. Didn't have a show again last night. We're working on that at the moment. We've got a few people down, so it's just me really holding the fort. So what I'm going to try and do Raconteurs 2 and Raconteurs News. So Raconteurs 2 on a Monday, 7 till 9, and then Raconteurs News 8 until 10 on a Tuesday. Just until Adi gets back on his feet and he's feeling fit and well enough. So we wish you well, Adi, and Andy as well. Always welcome back, Andy. So let's get back to tonight's guest, Martin Liedtke. How you doing? Did you have a good comfort break?
Yeah, man. Got my coffee.
Got your coffee. So where were we going next? Are we going on to the sun? We're going to start talking about the sun, aren't we? How far away would you estimate the sun is?
A couple of 1,000 miles away. Not that far. But you can feel it, can you? Well, some days when I'm laying there, especially when I was in the tropics, and it was really hot, you would lay there on the beach and you would think to yourself, Christ, that looks so close. And it's so close and it's so hot because it is so close and it is so hot. Look, if it was 93 million miles away, the rays, because of it being this enormous 500 million mile wide ball, they would come in uniformic and cover the entire side of this supposed bottle and not come through on corpuscular rays at an angle. It's impossible when you think about it. It's not far away. The moon is not far away. The moon and the sun, I believe, It's probably something to do with one another and the way this whole thing works. It's nothing like they told us. Absolutely nothing like they told us. Gravity, they based everything on something that was make-believe. And other make-believe theories that they will basically argue the point with nothing to back it up. With gravity, they used mathematical equations, calculus, that only a very small percentage of the population then in academia, and God forbid they will speak outside of it, they will lose their job and their pension, so they will never will, and they know this, so they keep stum, and they will just build a massive weight of evidence for something that doesn't even exist. It's all very clever, but obviously you can't pick it apart then, can you? Because you've got this massive weight built on a theory of nothing that doesn't even exist. You don't need gravity, it's buoyancy. And wait, look, my magnet, the atoms in it, or the molecules if you like, are heavier than the atoms in the air. It's going to drop. It's just buoyancy. Buoyancy and weight. And that's all there is. You don't need gravity. What for? What for? So they can send rockets up. Rockets that don't go anywhere. They just arc back down and come back down into the ocean. Because that's all you ever see. All of them, every single one of them go up, arc, and come back down into the ocean. That's why they all go either in the centre of Kazakhstan, where there's no people, in a really barren part of the world, probably the most barren wilderness in the world, where Star City is, and the sea on Fort Lauderdale. So it jets off out into the Atlantic. No eyes on it. And, they got no ships can go in that area either. So there's not going to be any ice or fisheries either. So nobody's going to see these things coming down. It's really canny. And they go and collect them up later. You reuse them. This is what happens. You just go up, they come back down. Well, they'll use they got to get escape velocity, and they just got to sort of skip out of the atmosphere and go around that way. They're not coming back down into the water at all. It just looks that way. But obviously, the perspective, they're not very far away, and they're not going behind no ball because it's flat. So they're coming back down into the water. There's no aspect to this we haven't thought about, or there are huge holes. I'm not going to lie, but when they've got all the information, and all we're doing is using our critical thinking and our discernment together as a community, which we do. We got our problems. We're a big dysfunctional family, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of love there. There's a lot of close people, and we work together. We've got our own experiments, the curvature experiments. They kill it. We've had some really long curvature experiments to kill the curve. The famous Joshua Nowicki shot across Lake Toronto. Now, they will tell you, the media, some newscaster, that it was basically a lumen or an optical illusion called atmospheric lensing. And it basically, between that distance and that distance, is like 1,000 foot of ball. Apparently, the light's bending it over this ball. But I was years at the Merchant Navy, and they do not look like that. And I've seen mirages. They quiver and they shake. It's not that. So I got, funny enough, on my site today, Flat Earth British, somebody passed me a link, and it was the Isle of Man from basically just north of Blackpool, and it was 68. No, it was a bit more than that, 100 odd miles away. And it was there clearly. But again, the article said it was this phenomena of optical illusion, what's called superior mirage. But that distance, you're talking on their curve calculator, the 8 inches per square mile, it is an absolute load of ball in the way that this apparent light is bending over. It's nuts, honest to God. Look, it's between us in Britain, right, and America, you've got the Atlantic Ocean. You just try and visualize, right, between you're standing on, say, Land's End, across to America. They say there's I don't even know how many miles, hundreds of miles high of a mountain, a curve of water all the way to America. When water's natural physics in all experiments is it always finds its level. Fill up a glass of water, fill up your bath. Does it curve in a bath? No. You can use a teardrop. That's water. That's basically surface tension. That's a completely different science. That's it's just retaining its own space with the air pressure around it, and it'll develop a skin. That's a completely different thing altogether. Nobody can bring that in. But the whole idea of curved water that defies your logic of, well, of course water's always flat. You can see it flat down on the beach. and the ship's going over the horizon, which they will use as it's going over the curve, will just be brought back in, depending on your strength of your optics, and that's it. If you've got a Nikon P900 camera, it'll just come straight back in. It just falls out of your vision, a vanishing point where you can no longer perceive it or see it, because you're not Steve Austin, the bionic man. You can only see a certain distance, so it will drop off, and that is what's happening. And it's the same for the sunset. They will say that it's dipping down behind the ball, or we're going around it, but it perceives that from your perspective. That's not what's happening at all. It's just going around, but you can actually perceive it and see it. When it's studied enough, we've got plenty of footage, check on the flat Earth, but it will go smaller and smaller and just move away into a perspective where you can't see it no more. That's all that's happening. You have to understand how the eye works, how vision works, atmospheric conditions, atmospheric lensing, all the water molecules between you and the especially the sun, when it's like got to go through all that atmosphere a lot more than it would be if it was higher, acts as a magnifying glass. All of the water droplets all the way to that horizon line. So it's like a magnifying glass that brings it in. It's absolutely fascinating science once you look into it, and it completely distinguishes any curvature notion. We're still waiting for one to turn up, but all we're doing is finding further things away on the horizon that shouldn't be there because of their curve and this massive ball of water. Sorry, I find it comical now. I really do.
What I want to get into with you was NASA, because I know that there is a huge, there's a huge amount of interesting, shall we say, videos of NASA, particularly the one where I think it's Tim Peake. He's supposed to be doing a cast, some sort of video.
Seen that? Did you?
Yeah. And then you see somebody bringing George W. Bush Sr. into the command center, and you can see behind that they're faking it.
Yeah, green screen.
It syncs together. So,
augmented reality. There's not an aspect of the ISS we can't pick apart. There's absolutely zero. There's no footage out there of this thing ever being built on Google. If there was a reality, there would be hundreds of thousands of hours of training footage of what they actually do in there. Maybe give us a live feed so we can see what you're doing in there. Better still, when you're in there, take one of them with you in the ISS, Tim, next time, and point it out and show us this ball on your phone. Maybe have a Google Live Hangout so we can see it live. Never going to happen. They don't take their phones. They never show you an image. It's all so contrived. It's all in a Stillwater pond. We got bubbles, thousands of images of bubbles, and it's scuba diving gear. And I got books up there by the dozen where it shows you how they do it in Stillwater pools. It's the closest thing to this gravity thing they keep going on about, where they will basically have divers blacked out in the background and this giant screen will show you this ball. And they had the same thing on a British television, basically reality show back 10 years ago. I can't remember the name of it now, but they told people they were going to space with Johnny Vaughan. I don't remember if you can remember that, guys. They basically lied to him and told him they were going to space, and they never. And they showed him this globe on this giant screen through the window. And if anyone's seen the film Gravity, well, that kills it, because that's actually better than what NASA are producing right now, and they know it. And not only that, right, they're getting rid of all sci-fis, like Star Trek's not being remade, or Andromeda, or Farscape, and all these sci-fis. They're just dumping them all, because basically people can pick them apart and say, well, if they can do this, well, they can definitely do what NASA are doing. All ISS images, they're only a minute 20 long. And if you get them longer, then they are spliced together. The absurdity of when this woman has got her hair in standing on end, but when you see people in a parabolic maneuver in a G jet, right, it doesn't act like that. This is just put on. They use a technique where they can hang upside down. You can see their faces are pickled red. And Penn and Teller, the musicians, they use the same technique in their tricks, and they show you then and pan out and they're upside down. It's phenomenal if you ever see that on Penn and Teller. So they use that. They use augmented reality, which is little implants in your eyes. They can see what's here on a screen over there, but there's nothing actually there. And we got many videos in the flat earthers where they got empty spaces where they're not really coordinating themselves, and they're live in front of a schoolroom or something with this 50-second delay that they always mess up. Sometimes they say, right, that they'll ask a question and they'll give a direct answer and go, shit, I've given it, and it's supposed to wait 15 seconds. Now, another one, it's supposed to cost $30,000 a pound in weight to get that stuff up there in cost. $30,000 a pound in weight. Yeah, they don't mind sending like a gorilla suit up for Tim Peake to piss around with, or a guitar, somebody to play Space Oddity really badly with. And apparently he had a big bag of Bush too, so they don't mind doing that for 30 grand. There's so many stupid ass things, like an American football team won this tournament, but there's the astronauts with the winning team's shirts on live. So what did they have, like psychicness or precog, or did they have the shirts for every single team in the league? Yeah. So no, because in a hotel or studio. So it's, there's so many nuttiness. Now, when you watch these clips and they're floating through, there's one theory out there that the actual space shuttle, you look into why that's not around anymore. That's really bad questions. Why? Indeed. They can't even send people up anymore. America, they got to go to Russia and use the shitty Soyuz. I've seen that in the Leicester Space Centre. It's a baked bean tin coupled together with Jubilee clips, and it's supposed to go in space. Okay, whatever. So the space shuttle, it's got jet engines on the back. Check it out. Look on the images. Look on the specs. They hide them. But you've got the big baffles, which is supposed to be a glider. But when it comes into land, it's screaming. Any footage, it's screaming. Jet engines. Right, so it's possible that the inside of that is used as some sort of chamber to imitate parabolic maneuvers, and they do it. That could be used. That could be used. That's one good theory. Now, they use zero jets, parabolic maneuvers. There's two stages of a parabolic maneuver. You get the microgravity, where they're basically in free fall. They're falling towards the Earth, and the plane's just around them, so they don't actually feel that they're falling towards the Earth. It's just a sensation, imitating it. It's not real. They're just falling. So they use that. There's nothing that they do that we have not worked out. It's really, really rubbing our face in it. We got footage of their iPads on their laps. And I don't know whether they're doing this deliberately, as stupid as they like, but I believe they are, okay? Well, you'll see the reflection in the phone on the black screen of their tablet, which they strap to their thighs when they're doing science work, real science work, which you never see them do, ever. Well, you don't. And I would love it. Imagine a documentary, Lifetime, right? Would you watch it on Google if it was on all day on the ISS and they're going around doing their experiments and see what they actually do on there, right, real time, and walk up to the the window and show us this ball turning real time, full, real time panoramic. It's never going to happen. It's just clips. It's all they can give us, and it's all so well staged. The harnesses are disgusting. Why they think that nobody can see them, but to me, it's maddening why people just if they make a mistake, NASA will explain it away, and the people go, okay, well, that makes sense. But it doesn't make sense. Rockets don't work in a vacuum. Rockets need thrust to push off of something like air.
Yeah. This is my point. This has been my point for quite a while. If it's a vacuum, there's nothing to thrust off. It's like me sitting in a rowing boat in my kitchen. There's no water. No matter how far I row, I'm not going anywhere. Right? So there's nothing to resist what the energy that I'm putting into that. It needs to the energy needs to have a resistance. Otherwise, it's not going to move.
No, it needs to push off of. And there's nothing there. They're supposed to be sucked in by nature and a vacuum. There's nowhere. But yet they tell us, they got a little explanation. They use an expanding gas, and expanding gas pushes a comb, and that then propels it forward. But that in itself doesn't work in a vacuum, because the gas behaves in a certain way in a vacuum. There's no angle of this. They'd explain it away with an equation that you will never understand in a language that they don't even understand. And that's the way they get away with it. And you just got to lap it up and in your heart it's all bullshit. And that's the reality with NASA. And they basically are just eking the money in. They've just asked for another couple of trillion. They're going to send people to go and live on that red dot in the sky. You know the little red dot? Well, they say it's a planet called Mars. They say you can go on there. They say they got a little buggy thing going around on the surface of there to send you a clear signal when you can't get a signal going 3 miles that way out into the countryside. My phone craps out. But they get a signal back from Mars, clearly, right, from this Curiosity rover in Gale Crater, through, apparently, the Van Allen belts, apparently through, it's Mars. So there's the asteroid belt. So it doesn't hit one of them, or they're all too spaced out, are they? You know, there's too many stupid... Look, when they send this apparently this Voyager out into deep space, right? How does it get its signal back exactly to send these photographs back? Through the Oort field, through the asteroid belt, through all of these radiations and the gamma rays.
I can't get a phone signal in Derbyshire.
Neither can I. Exactly. I go 2 miles up there into the Vale of Glamorgan, and my phone craps out. So it's insanity. Satellites, no need for them. We don't need them. It's all ground-based technology, and basically underground cables to give us the internet. There's no need for satellites. You need a globe for satellites, geosynchronistic orbit, for them to fall away from this globe. Now, they say that there's 23,000 satellites up there doing their business, but you'll never see one of them. And if you watch the ISS live feed, you could watch that for eternity, and you will never see a satellite or a bit of space debris, not that it exists, or anything. Yeah, they say they exist. Now, somebody did the math and say if you stare at the full moon, like it is supposed to be tonight, you will see no less than 300 satellites an hour pass in front of the full moon. You will never see any. You never see any satellites. I'm a photographer. I'm a flat earther, and I take photographs every time the moon's out. I don't see anything. In fact, I did see something pass in front of the moon. Birds, a flock of birds. Beautiful photograph. The birds were in focus. Funny thing, so was the moon. That means it's not far away, guys.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of. What do you make of these? I've seen a lot of recently of these videos where people have taken videos of the sun, and it appears that the clouds are going behind the sun.
Yeah, I've got a couple saved. Yeah, I've got a couple saved, brother. It appears that they're behind there, and there's a video out there where you see this sort of sun bubbling up under the clouds through a jet window. You ever see that video out there at all, Jason?
No, I've not seen that one.
Yeah, somebody's got a camera out the plane window, and they're like, "What?" And you can hear the like, "Whatever is it?" And it's like this just sun under the clouds bubbling away, like it's just whatever it is. I can't possibly imagine whether it's a fake video or something UFO or whatever, but it can't be the sun that low under the clouds, surely. But I've got a photograph myself I've taken of clouds behind the moon, looping around and coming back, the same one. It was in a loop, like a smoke ring. So it's behind the moon. I got plenty of images where you can actually feel the perspective of distance to the horizon, and you can actually see that the sun is close to you. Now, this one's, you're going to love this, Jason. So are you. Now, you're standing on a beach, right? And the sun's going down. And the moon does the same thing. And you see this sliver of light that comes to your toes, doesn't it? You know that sliver of light from the sun? When it's setting on the beach, when you're on the beach at night, and the sun's setting at the sea, and it sends this sliver, I actually painted it. This sliver of light to your feet, right, at the beach. Well, that obviously doesn't fill all the water like it should be. It's just a thin sliver of light. Not this side, just a thin sliver of light that reaches your toes. The funny thing about this is that if you're 100 miles up the beach, that light will still reach your toes. 5 miles up the beach or 200 miles up the beach. So what can that tell us? Does that say there's a subjective reality and it's just there for each individual? What does that tell us when you're there and it meets your feet? You could be 200 miles up the beach and the sunset will still reach your feet.
Well, I've got to say that I can't recall a situation where I've actually done that, and I don't know whether that is perhaps just some idiosyncratic.
I think that, yeah, there's an element of that probably, but I think the way reality works, I think it may be an element that responds to us, the way consciousness works. This is a phenomena that if you think about it, it's not just a mind sort of experiment. This is something that you can perceive with your own eyes, and it reaches your toes, yet somebody 50 or 100 miles up the beach or whatever, it reaches their toes too. And how is that possible? The sun isn't a separate sun 200 miles down the beach, sending that stream of light to their toes. So how exactly is that working? Not to detract this or sort of I digressed a bit there and took you off on a tangent, but it is food for thought. It just shows you we don't understand how reality works, and it's nothing like the quacks or the penguins of academia would like to tell us. These crusty old bad breath sort of chalk-covered guys, their days are done. They're so antiquity now, and this evolution and the rest of it is getting a joke for the thinking man. The thing is, in the past, we had wars. And we didn't have time to sit and think, but we've had the internet for 20 years now, and we've had time to sit and think, and we've worked stuff out. Damn, we've all worked it out. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. We've got a question. We got a question from the chat room.
Cool.
It's out to lunch. Right, and the question, it's been reposted, so obviously posted it earlier on, but we didn't see it. So sorry about that. Out to lunch. Right. So the question is, if we all agree and accepting the planet is flat, what does it change today? Right now,
you cracked out there, Jason. I'm only getting half of it.
Okay, all right. I'll start again. Okay. If we're all agreed and accepting that the planet is flat, what does it change today? Right now, considering all geopolitics and global engineering, there's no connection to the Earth being flat. To get all the agendas in, all the agendas in. Cheers. And then it followed up that with, will it cure pedastry, poverty, the sexualization of children, usury and banking corruption and climate change fraud?
All elements of it. Indeed, they are. The sexualization of children, the whole agenda is evil. And it's them. It's part of their evil, weird-ass satanic system that they got going on that I'm definitely no part of since I got away from all of this. It was not my fault. It's social conditioning. Something wrong with them all. The way they've structured it, when John Lennon said it the best, right, Jason, when he said, that we're run by psychopaths for psychopathical means, and it is just that. We're at the hands of psychopaths. They're devoid of empathy. They don't care about us. It's the straw man. You sold up down the river the moment you're born. The moment your mother takes that piece of paper to the registration office, you're theirs. So they can literally take you out of your house. They can take you away, take you to a war, conscript you, get you killed, or mental institution, or do you know what? Anything they particularly want, if they want. You are not like sovereign. Sovereignty is something that they won't give you. So something we need back. Now, what I believe is it will make the biggest difference to humanity ever, because it's the next shift of consciousness for us, the next awakening, where we were here before, you see. We were here before in this civilization that just went before, and we were much, much more than we are now. The way that our architecture, these giant megaliths, and it's all smashed and gone now. All of this is a product of this civilization that went before us. So many techniques that they've suppressed from us. They're coming back. They are coming back. They're being reintroduced. So the next stage is coming. There's no stopping it. There's no stopping it now. The cat's out of the bag. You can't put it back in. No one can. And people are waking up by the droves, and they are by the day. I know it. I've been here 2 years, and it's like a waterfall on me at the moment of people all coming for answers and guidance to whatever's next. The thing is, see, the deeper implication of this is they told you were meaningless. You were meaningless on a ball, like nothing, absolutely nothing. There's all other aliens out there and all that, but that's not the truth at all. The truth is that you're on a creation, and it's made by God, and you are basically going to have to pay for the shit you've done. Everyone's subject to karmic connection. You're not going to be able to escape it. So everyone's going to have to fold. And the thing is, the way consciousness works is when this does spill out, if it did, into the mainstream, and the whole thing, the whole dialectic of what the governments are playing, if everyone just woke up that we've been played and we're just a slave race for an evil 1% that are sitting, in their gentlemen's clubs, living perverse lifestyles and laughing at us, which is exactly what's going on, then people are not going to want that. And people will have a natural transition into this next this next awakening. It's basically a change in your vibration of your body, and once it's happened, you can't go back. And that is what will happen in consciousness. People, the hunter monkey effect, the way consciousness works, the ripple effect, they will just have that frequency change, and there won't be no need to worry about a transition piece. You won't even have to worry about corporate banks or all of the, how would we survive without money? How would we survive with the whole way that the structure is without them to run it for us? Well, I'm afraid they've lied the whole time. We can actually think for ourselves, and they tell us we're a warring race, and the only thing we're good at, as Stephen Hawking would like to say, is killing one another. But you know what, guys? That ain't the truth. That's brainwashing. We're based on symbiotic relationship. All we ever want to do is help one another. There's not a man out there that wants to war. I've never met anyone. It's just nuts. All we are here to do is help, share, and support one another through this reality and realize our position here. And our position here is we are spiritual beings having a spiritual experience. And there's a dark side. And the dark side came along, and it took us away from who we truly are. They want us to get us deeper away from it. They want to get us away from the family unit. So we don't sit around the table and discuss our day anymore. Now we're looking down at our mobile phones. I was on a train the other day, beautiful countryside out the window. I'm like taking photographs, and I looked around. They're all looking down at their phone. What?
Of course they are. Yeah.
Check out the window, guys. They're all fast asleep. That's by design. Black Mirror, used in witchcraft, 2,000 years. Now we got them in our room. Now we got one there, looking at me. Sinister. Spells. Spells are words. Spells are spells. They use vibratory qualities of nature and the harmonics and the dynamics and the qualities in the alchemic arts. They know about this to a deeper level, and it's the mystery schools, and they've hidden these techniques for themselves. They give us sneaky things with their Egyptian symbology and the obelisks and the rest, and the sneaky little things with their duper's delight they like to constantly do to us with numbers. Like, numerology, 888 today. I knew it before I came on. I waited for 777 and 7717 to see anything went down. Now, it's funny, leading up to the British general elections, we were terrorised by an army of men in white vans, and then it disappeared as soon as the election was over with. Funny that, isn't it? Just saying. So, there might be something cooking up, and they ain't finished with their games. And people know what's going on. People will know what's going on. But when you see these disturbances or these riots you see in Hamburg, they were actors. Don't ever underestimate the amount of crisis actors these people can come up with. Cecil B. DeMille can do it, or if you record in Saving Private Ryan, and you got all them extras, no problem. So they can do it. No, I had a sub contact me over Grenfell Fire. He lives across the road. He said, that day, Martin, there was nobody around from my environment and my community. Nobody. They were all strangers, and we weren't allowed nowhere near it. It was so wrong. And I've asked loads of people, Martin. He said nobody knew who they were, and there were so many of them. They bring them in. I got videos on my channel. Check them out. Of this actual crisis management group doing a practice in London, leading up to an event and actually explaining what they were doing. This stuff is right in your face. There's no avoiding it. It's not a conspiracy. It's a reality that they are playing man against man, brother against brother. And they're using the guise of religion. And listen, guys, we don't dump religion. We're in a lot of trouble because all wars, all arguments is my God's bigger than your God. And that stuff's just got to go because it's bullshit. I am deeply spiritual, and I do believe there's a creator, but that's nothing to do with dogma. The codes, the 10 commandments, are written in my heart. I was born with them. I was born knowing the earth was flat until they grabbed me out and put me in an indoctrination camp as soon as they could get me off my parents, which they do to all of us. Death, another scam. Birthdays, another scam. Every year they tell you you're a year older. You're 50, Matt. I'm 50 this year, guys, but they want me to be 50. They want me to act like a 50-year-old man. They want me to have a middle-aged pot like a 50-year-old man. They want me to do the 50-year-old man shit. Well, that's just brainwashing. Every year they give you a candle, you blow out. Another year, another year.
Just a second. Who wants you to be a 50-year-old man? Who's told you that they want you to be a 50-year-old man?
There's a stereotypical type of grandmother where they
have. Of course, there's a stereotypical
why do they have to be like that? Why do they have to be like that? Why can't they be there?
It doesn't have to be like that. The more people,
they're 130.
The more people that say I'm not going to be like that, then the stereotype dies. That's what I'm saying. All you've got to do.
No, not necessarily. No.
Well, yeah, of course it does. If everybody says I'm not conforming to that, I'm going to do what I want. I want to wear this. I want to wear that. I want to wear other.
You'll have good health and live for a longer time, because this predictive programming used by them to tell you something's going to happen to you and put the seed in your head, and especially with aging, that 80, I'm getting closer to death now, or this age, or that age, or 80, I'll have a rinse. Or I'm a middle-aged man. Like, they want you to act like this. It is part of it. It really is. The birthdays are part of the scam. They are. They want you to die young. Okay? Now, we don't have to die young. Look how many... Do you know when you're in Asia or in... I got one friend, his father works in a farm in India, and he's over 100. But they don't even know how old he is. And you can go in any village in Thailand or India, and there'll be many people over 100 years old. And this has been going on for a long time. It's only the Western democracy where they get them killed off by 80, 90. They're really old. But outside of this, in Asia and that, they're living well older, because they're away from this predictive programming of you're going to die. It is, guys. It is.
Are they awake to this predictive program, or are they living in places where this predictive program hasn't quite reached yet? Listen. We all agree that there's this thing, that this web that's going around. Across the world, shall we say, rather than around. It's going across the world. But don't you think that the people that live in those areas, because you're not going to in India, you're not going to have McDonald's like you are in America, and you're not going to have people that are going to be eating McDonald's and doing that. So rather than it being something spiritual and something, it's just that this particular web of crap that we in the West have tolerated and then imposed on other people.
Bad, isn't it?
That don't you think it could just be that? Something.
It's a big element to that. Yeah,
it's like a culture. It's like a cultural suicide that we're trying to impose on other cultures. Yeah. To me, that's what it seems like.
It is, brother. It's exactly the points to bang on. Really, I got a friend who's a flat earther, lives in Thailand, in Phuket, right? And his wife's a Thai. He's been there like 25 years, and he asked her, "So, what do you think the shape of the Earth is?" She went, "It's flat, of course." She never went to a Western indoctrinized school with a globe in the classroom and all of that. She didn't live that sort of life. She's more from the country, So, if you're away from this, your natural answer or your natural reaction would be to say what your eyes can see and what your experience is. I don't feel I'm spinning, and I don't feel that basically I haven't seen any ball ever, and I never ever will, and nobody ever will either. Ever. No one. Think about that. And this is all they give us. The blue marble by Simpson, who tells you that basically it's all done by data ribbons, because we can't get up high enough, which they can't. Every single one of them is different to one another with the blue marble images. They're disgusting. There is definitely no...
I've got a couple of questions I want to ask you. There is definitely no pictures of the Earth as a ball.
Or CG.
They're all... Are they CGI composite ones?
And they're freely emitted. Then it's not us being conspirators. Again, it's Simpson, the guy who done the last blue marble, and he tells you it was done from basically data collected on a satellite, which was for weather. So we basically correlated that, and we turned it into, I use paint in the arts and crafts NASA room where we invent the planets, and I made this, and there was bits missing, big chunks, so I filled them in. And he tells you this, and he works for NASA. His name's Simpson. He's on all the Flat Earth channels. You'll be able to see him. So this is admitted composite images. All of them have been debunked. This one from 1972 shows you North America. But when you get up to 2002, North America fills up the entire northern hemisphere, guys. I don't know why they don't, think people are going to pick up on this. Maybe they think people don't, got no atlases, or they don't do geography when they're home or something. Also, they put sex in the clouds in words. Just for a laugh. Down by you in the Pacific Ocean, mag it up yourself when you get home and go on Google, find the most recent blue marble image, and just for a laugh, because they like Duper's Delight to laugh at us, they put sex. in the clouds. And they use this a lot. They use it with Disney films, and they put like sex and sort of phallic art and stuff, and they stick them into sort of Disney's and they'll subliminals, and they're always doing it.
They put into everything. I mean, I've seen my friend Lennon Honor has done a lot of good videos. If anybody wants to get onto his site, he's done a lot of good subliminal.
What's it called? Sorry,
Lennon Honor, LENONHONOR, LennonHonor.com. And he's done a lot of good shows on subliminal messages, and he's found subliminal messages in all sorts of things. Listen
to this one then, Jason. This is brilliant. My friend Odd put it on his channel, right? Do you know when we had the national anthem on the end of the television years ago? Yeah. Well, they had the American version, right? Okay, can you see?
I saw it. Yeah, I've seen this one.
And as the words reel back, it's obey your government. Your government is God. Basically, greed is good. Corporate, all of this stuff, this brainwashing, and you basically, because your subconscious sees everything, it subconsciously most certainly picks up on it. But you don't. And they've done that, when you're at your most vulnerable, when you're falling asleep at night as well. At the end of the very clever. So they be doing it, and they're still doing it every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And then
I've seen that one actually. It's really, really weird, isn't it? I think the words to the anthem come across the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
But just before them are the words that you're saying. Obey the government. The government.
It's God. Yeah, all of these really weird Big Brother style, doublethink style words. Like double speak. It's that type of, obey, and really like making, you read that and then you've got this thing going in, the government is God. That's going to be you being completely submissive and obey anything they say. That's dangerous.
Because like you said, the subliminal mind picks up everything, which is why when you get news screens, a news channel, it'll have the bloke doing the news, then it'll have something down the side, then something going across the bottom, and you're concentrating on the guy, but your subliminal is picking up the other stuff. So they could put anything in the bottom of there, and your subliminal is going to pick it up, and then when it comes to you, for whatever that is to be triggered by something, that's when it'll happen, and it's really quite sophisticated. Look, we did talk earlier. There was just one more point. We've got about 15 minutes left.
Wow, that went quick.
It has gone extremely quick. But we were talking earlier about the sun.
Yeah.
Now there was a point that I wanted to clarify with you regarding the sun and the moon. Now we're told that the moon's shine is the sunlight reflected off the moon.
No.
But isn't it true that if you're in the moon shade, it's warmer than in the moonlight? So it's exactly the opposite of being in the sunlight to being in the shade. So in the shade, if you're in the sunlight, it's hotter than it is being in the shade, whereas in the moonlight, it's colder in the moonlight than it is in the shade.
Yeah, it's an independent light source. You've been watching our videos, haven't you, Jason?
I've been watching lots. This is the thing. My
got a dozen of that experiment, and it's a petrifying white light that causes putrefaction, and it's not a life-giving light. It's a sort of septic light. It's a definite independent light source, and that's why it's so white and it's so glary, and it's just when it's full corona. The moon, it doesn't look right. It's so anomalous. It's got its own independent light, and there is a temperature difference that you can do yourself. You can do this experiment yourself. Just get two cheap thermometers, leave one of them under the table, out of the way of the moonlight, and one in the moonlight, and there is a temperature difference, proving that the moon is independent of the sun's moonlight. But we got enough image in the flat earthers to show you that the sun is in nowhere position necessary to give this particular arc to the face of the moon, showing that it's not giving the sort of glow or reflecting the sun's light. Plus, it's completely different light. The sun is orange and red by nature, or white when you get up high enough. And I'm afraid that's not what you witness on the moon, is it? No, it's an independent light. It is definitely its own source, its own energy. It's not a nice energy. It's a sort of, like I said, a putrefying energy, but like as opposed to the sun, life-giving and beautiful energy. But they're connected in some way. Depending, we got all sorts of theories, and it can delve into, the realm of, fourth dimensional physics and other sort of aspects, which I don't want to talk about. But, people trying to, the thing is, ascertaining models is a necessity to people, you see. People need a comfort blanket. People need something to hold. And they want a model, like the ball. Well, I don't really want that ball. I'm not big on balls. I got to be honest. So I like it flat. I like lateral thinking. So but people feel they need like a map. But that can't happen because basically we don't know what's missing. We've tried. We've got like the Gleasons, and there's other maps like the Japanese 1,000-year-old Buddhist map that come our way, the Kabawashi map, which shows our map like with the center point being as North Pole and coming out to the ice wall, and then beyond masses and masses of continents, right? So Atlantis, if you like. So this is the perimeter, and outside of there, it shows all these lands. Now, there's theories out there. Admiral Byrd, his statements, he says that when he went through apparently this way, past the South Pole, he came across warmer lands, and a land that no human eye have ever set eyes on, right? The size of America. And just so happens, Kabawashi, when you go south of the South Pole, it just coincides with, there's a land there, just the same size as North America. So I like to think that Kabawashi could be accurate. And it explains where Atlantis is. It explains all of the cultures. It explains if anyone wants to believe in UFOs, well, they ain't up that way. But they could be either interdimensional by nature or laterally. We don't know what's out there. It could be as big as their universe that they make out, but laterally. We're on a lateral plane of existence. Reality works like all Asian cultures will teach you. The Vedic scriptures, the Asian Hindu scriptures of the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita will teach you that we are on a central plane, and we are the center point is a magnetic mountain called Meru. So that's the Veda. And then you've got the Norse mythology, the center point, the North Pole, the Tree of Life on a flat plane. All of them teach flat. Anastasia Indians, the Dogons, every Asian culture until the 1500s, when this started, this heliocentric model apparently introduced by Copernicus, and as you know, Galileo Galilei, and he got under house arrest for the latter half of his life because of his basically not happy with the idea of having this spinning ball model. He was more inclined with the geocentric. That means we were still a ball, but in the center of the universe. Now, talking about this, physics and academia has just had a U-turn, meaning they made a film called The Principle, and you got people like Michikaku and this royal devilness, Lawrence Krauss, and other sort of physicists and personalities saying that they now have evidence that our planet, still sticking with that, is actually the center of the universe, and everything's like shelved up. And everything's pointing towards us. And they have evidence to prove through the W map, which, as you know, is the evidence for the background micro radiation in the perceivable universe, which actually they're now saying shows clear evidence that we are at the center of the universe. So they're changing their tact more to heliocentrism. Right now, that's academia. So this, even if you're not going to be a flat earther, they're going that way. They are going that way, academia. They got no choice. People are waking up. This bullshit they've given us makes no sense. It's ridiculous. It's just fairy dust. And NASA, they're really bad Masonic actors. When they send a rocket up, this SpaceX, guys, is a joke. And then you got this raft, and it comes and lands back down. Sorry. We're finished, are we? Oh.
No, we're not finished. Listen, I want to give you like we've got 5 minutes left. What I want you to do what I want you to do in those 5 minutes is I'm going to give you the floor, and you give us where people can see your work, see your videos, all that sort of thing. Let us know any websites. I tried to friend you on Facebook, but I didn't get a response.
It's on a different name, Martin Matsons, Matson, because my Liedtke one is all my school friends and my family, and I don't want them giving me hell over flat Earth. I can't be bothered with them. I'm too busy for all that. So.
Yeah, no problem. Listen, no problem with that at all. No problem. We got you on show eventually. So just let people know where they can see your work. We've got about 4 minutes left now because I've been waffling on.
Well, cool. I'm Flat Earth British anyway. Flat Earth British YouTube. You can find me on there. Now, there's a conference coming up, the first international conference ever held in the UK for flat earthers, believe it or not, guys. It's going to be held in Birmingham, in Jury's Hotel. It's all booked up and happening.
You just clicked a bit there. Just give us the address again. I know
Jury's Hotel in Birmingham, in Midlands, England. They're having the first international flat earth conference, first in history in the UK. On the follow-up of the United States one, which was held in Raleigh, North Carolina, the United States Flat Earth International Conference. Now, the one in Britain is going to be a big event, and there's some really well-known YouTubers, famous ones in the truther and the flat Earth community that are going to be presenting. I'm going to be there as well, doing a presentation for an entire weekend from the Friday through to the Sunday, and there's a website, Flat Earth Conference website. It's going to be live in about a week's time for people to purchase tickets for that. Also, I got a Flat Earth mixer coming in Cardiff Bay on a Sunday, the 27th. I just had one in Leamington Spa with a few friends, and 100 people came to meet. We talk Flat Earth, and we eat ice cream and just chill out. So if you want to do that in Cardiff Bay, Sunday, the 27th of August, that's a bank holiday weekend, mind. You can come and hang out with Flat Earth British, and we can, chew the fat and just chill out in my cool city, Cardiff, in Wales. We keep a welcome in the hillside, guys, okay? So do that. And Flat Earth British is me. Anybody need any help on this subject, martinliedtke7@gmail.com, and I'll do my best to help you in any context. Guidance, information, or any questions on this subject to do with Flat Earth. I'll see what I can do, okay? All right, thanks, guys. Anyway, it's been a pleasure. All
right, we'll pop those in the notes for the show notes on the website raconteursnews.com. Well, we've had Martin Liedtke, and what a show we've had as well. What a show we've had! Fantastic. It's been a great show. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for you to come. Sorry, thank you to you for coming along, taking the time out to talk to us. And thanks to Kevin as well for producing for us tonight. I think we're going to play out with a Heath Dweth song, Marijuana. We'll see you next week. I don't know, I've not got a guest lined up at the moment for next week, but I am going to have a guest lined up sometime this week. Hopefully as well, I'll be doing raconteurs too, if you can put up with me twice in a week. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again very soon. Ta-ra a bit. Bye.
Peace and love.
I'm gonna have some fun with this one here. Woo-hoo! In the morning, when I wake up, all I want is marijuana. In the evening, when I'm thinking, all I want is marijuana. If you look in my eyes, you will see what I've done. Every minute, every hour of every day. But life is like a smoke. In the end, I'm gonna choke. So all I do is live my life from day to day.
Oh my God, you know you better watch yourself because I know you're waiting on that one. Cause I'm telling you consonant. Cause you know the one that I take off for a run. You let me see you do that run. Run the one that they clan and the one that. Cause I know you cannot be me now what you wanna do. Cause I'm about to break it down me. Cause you know you cannot fade me now. Let you wanna. You better back it down now because I'm telling you. What bar, bun bar, can I wonder? Because you know you like the way you put that pick up. Cause I'm telling all your fools what happened. And in a mercy. Now what you wanna do? And in a mercy. Now what you wanna do? And in a mercy. Now what you wanna do? And in a mercy.
If you look in my eyes, you will see what I've done. Every minute, every hour of every day. But life is like a smoke. In the end, I'm gonna choke. So all I do is live my life from day to day. You got to lick it, stick it, bend it, crease it, stack it, burn it, pack it, roll it, poke it, roach it, smoke it, then you pass it to me. You got to lick it, stick it, bend it, crease it, stack it, burn it, pack it, roll it, poke it, roach it, smoke it, then you pass it to me.
Come on, baby girl, let's get it going on. I'ma hit the highway and do it my way. It ain't no game, girl, so I don't play games. I keep it up straight, right up in your face. So make your mind up, cause life is too short. I got the vest on, boy, put your belt on. Stop acting all cool like Kanye West, boy. You be riding through the wire and the camera get on fire. You don't want that, no, I don't want that, no. This goes out to pimps and chicks, so slow. Hit the backseat when you're doing the licking, kissing, squeezing. Do the damn thing, man.
You got to lick it, stick it, bend it, press it, stack it, burn it, pack it, roll it, poke it, roach it, smoke, marriage, you pass it to me. You got to lick it, stick it, bend it, press it, stack it, burn it, pack it, roll it, poke it, roach it, smoke, marriage, you pass it to me. You got to lick it, stick it, bend it, press it, stack it. Evening, stick it, bend it, crease it, stack it, burn it, pack it, roll it, poke it, roach it, smoke it, then you pass it to me.
Hi, this is Lisa Tanner and you're listening to Raconteur News.